I want to make it clear, and something I think is very important. Too often this has been portrayed as a North versus South issue, and it really isn't, and it shouldn't be. This is about what's in the best interest of the state of New Jersey. And if we're talking about amending our Constitution, then shouldn't we at least have done or performed one study? If you're going to compete against yourself, wouldn't a CEO of that business say, I want to do a study before I open my own competition within my own state? Or better yet, if there are already studies that have been performed, and those studies tell you that you're going to end up with a net loss if you open another business and compete against yourself, wouldn't you want to listen to and pay attention to the very studies that should guide you by experts, independent? So I know that when I speak, and I speak from 15,000 working families in Atlantic County that right now understand that their jobs and their way of life is in peril based upon this proposed referendum. I speak on behalf of 15,000 families who look at another person within the state who tries to say to them, we're going to help you by destroying you. We're going to help you in this oversaturated gaming market by adding more casinos. That logic is absurd. And only in Trenton would anybody even propose it. So if you look at the real statistics and the studies, and it goes back a long time. This debate has gone back and forth. Should we expand? Should we not? And there were studies done. Back in 2007, Christian Capital Advisors did one on behalf of the Meadowlands, and what they found was that just video lottery terminals will fall into the primary market for Atlantic City casinos, and thus it concluded that just that alone, the video lottery terminals, would cannibalize Atlantic City. And that was back in 2007. So in 2010, the Casino Association of New Jersey, they did an independent study, and they concluded just one casino in the Meadowlands would siphon off 45% of the gaming revenue from Atlantic City. Now, it sounds parochial, right, because I'm representing the people of Atlantic City. But really what we have to look at is from a higher perspective, from a state's view. We're going to open a new competing business against a business we already have. And we know that that new business is simply going to siphon off 45% of the people who already go to the other location. The study concluded that once you cannibalize 45% of the people who go to Atlantic City or gamble within your own state, it will result in the entire New Jersey casino industry having a net loss at the rate of approximately 4,000 jobs, 190 million in lost wages, and diverting 45 million from the very services for the disabled and our senior citizens that this plan was initially, casinos were initially enabled and allowed to come here in the first place. So say, okay, in 2014, independent studies performed by Stockton University. Now, Stockton University is a state university, state funded. I like to think that we would at least respect our own university as being an independent view and an independent body to try to figure out what's in the state's best interest. They pointed out that 2 North Jersey casinos will close an additional 2 Atlantic City casinos, reducing gaming revenue by $350 to $500 million. Put another 10,000 families out of work. And you say, okay, well, we're looking at this from the state's point of view. And we want to make sure that whatever policy we enact is in the best interest of the state. So if you already have 10,000 people from a part of your state that are unemployed, you have an unemployment rate in Atlantic County that is double. Bergen County, double. Hudson County, double. The very places that you're now saying we need to put these casinos in order to create jobs. You're going to destroy economically a region of your state. It's not us versus them. We are all one. We are interconnected within this state, and what we do to one part of the state affects the entire state. So say, okay, in 2015, the Greater Atlantic City Chamber, they did a study. Their study found expansion of gaming will lead to the closure, as we said earlier, 2 to 3 more casinos, resulting in the loss of another 14,000 to 15,000 direct and indirect jobs, resulting in a loss of $230 million in wages. And again, you're going to double the unemployment rate in Atlantic County. Now, I want to be real clear. If anybody is trying to in any way, shape, or form tell the public, our fellow citizens in North Jersey, our fellow New Jerseyans who care, if anybody is trying to say to them that somehow this gaming referendum is going to help Atlantic City, you're not being truthful. And you should stop it. You should tell the truth. You did a poll, and this was said by one of the people who are trying to get the gaming in North Jersey. They did a poll, and the poll showed that the majority of people who live in New Jersey do not support expanding gaming outside of Atlantic City. So they did another poll. And when they did the next poll, they asked, well, what if that money would go back and help Atlantic City? And they were able to get polling data that showed them if we put it that way, people will vote for it. You are being misleading and deceitful. Tell the truth. You have special interest. You have an opportunity for parochial reasons to expand a business into your area, and I get it, and I respect everybody who's been a part of this discussion. However, we need to talk the truth. Now, when I come up here on behalf of, in particular, the people who put me in office. And I'm telling you on their behalf that right now they're scared. They're already unsure of their future. They're just like all of you. They're trying to make a living, put their kids through school, pay their bills, and they have the highest foreclosure rate in the country. They have double the unemployment rate of everybody throughout the state. They deserve thoughtful deliberation. They deserve the same respect any of us would want as human beings. They don't deserve to have a state policy enacted without thoughtful debate. They don't deserve to have legislators move forward on a policy without at least even doing a study. And when you look at this, and we look at Deutsche Bank, who happens to be a proponent of expanding gaming, when they did their analysis, they pointed out that 2 North Jersey casinos will generate approximately $500 million in casino revenue. They say it's only 1/3. I've heard people come up here and say, we're going to generate up to $1 billion. That's simply not founded in fact. That's simply not based in reality. Every study has showed the market is oversaturated. When you look at Pennsylvania legislature and you look at the leaders in Pennsylvania, and when they were looking to open another casino, their own legislature and their own experts told them, all you're doing is shuffling the deck. You're just moving some people from this casino to that casino. It's already oversaturated. All you are doing by opening a casino in North Jersey is shuffling New Jersey gaming from south to north. Yes, you are absolutely correct. There will be people right now who leave New Jersey to go to other states to gamble for the convenience of the location. But there are not enough of them to overcome the damage to the state that will occur because of the other 42% who right now go to Atlantic City. Now, I had, in fact, it was Chair Caputo. You had met, well, I say chair of the gaming committee, and someone who I consider a friend, although obviously we couldn't disagree more on this issue. But Chair Caputo himself earlier said, well, I would be interested in hearing a plan. This legislature, before I got here, said we're going to give Atlantic City 5 years. Now, I will tell you that the minute that you said you're going to give 5 years, that was a mistake. Because when you put a time limit on, if you have anybody who has money to invest in the private sector, they want certainty in the market. If I'm going to put $10 million up to $100 million of an investment, I need to know that somebody else isn't going to compete with my own investment and take 42% of the people away with me within 5 years. So I hold my money. But let's even assume that the 5 years made sense to do it that way. It took 3 years for the legislature to go ahead and enact the legislation needed in order to do it. In the 4th year, we started holding hearings to have casinos in North Jersey, and this is the 5th year. Atlantic City wasn't given even the 5 years that it was promised, and it was done in a manner that from a policy standpoint was designed to fail from the beginning. Now, if you want to be serious, and I'll give you a plan. Of course, there's going to come a time when Atlantic City has to transition. Atlantic City, absolutely, in order to succeed and be able to compete with convenience gaming up and down its border, has to make sure that it diversifies into a destination resort. One within which the revenue is 65% not gaming and the remainder gaming. So you say, is that realistic? Is that not realistic? Las Vegas got it and understood it. It took Las Vegas about 11 years to transition. 12 or so years ago, 13, 15 years ago, they began the process. They saw convenience gaming coming and taking away their patrons. They saw that their profits were going to go down. So what did they do? They decided to transition into more of a non-gaming destination, take their 70% gaming revenue, 30% non-gaming, and try and flip it. And it took them over 10, 11 years, but they were able to get to 65% non-gaming revenue, 35% gaming revenue. Now, if I'm trying to get investors into Atlantic City and into that market and to develop within our own state, what I want to do is make sure that they know that there's not going to be any change in the policy, or we're not going to compete with ourselves until Atlantic City has been able to change those numbers so that it's 65% non-gaming revenue with the remainder being the gaming revenue. That is just one plan. You know, one of the things that was pointed out through the testimony, and I thought it was important, and I think it's important to reiterate it. The reason that gaming was passed, and if you look back to 1974 and 1976 when the debates were going on, was to revitalize a part of our state that had disproportionate unemployment, families and people that were hurting. And we decided that we would allow this vice to come into our state, not so we could put it into our general revenue fund, but so that we could find an opportunity to provide jobs, economic growth, and a way to look out for and care for all of our families in New Jersey. And over the years, Atlantic City has provided the rest of the state hundreds of millions of dollars. And unfortunately, that noble purpose, while we allowed a vice to come into the state in the first place, has gotten lost completely. We have power brokers, money men, and others who are pushing for their own interests as opposed to truly the interests of the citizens of the state of New Jersey, the working families that we're supposed to care about. Because if you have 5% unemployment and another part of your state has double that, if you truly care, you would not be pushing to double that unemployment where it's already 10%. If we stated the true intent of why we allowed gaming here in the first place, and that was to provide opportunity for families to make sure that we take a region within this state and give them the same opportunity that the North has, then it would be clear we would at least do a study. we would at least look at the studies that have already been performed, and we would make sure that we did it with the deference and the care and the same love and understanding that we would want each of us and our families to have.